Doo-doo-dee. It's Nandi!
Hello friends, a shorter one today, just to showcase the new Death Guard Machine of War, as well as the new changes to the Incursion mode. The Death Guard get the Plagueburst crawler this patch. The art and animations for this model are pretty awesome and I really love the vibe. The primary ability is Entropy Cannons. Nothing too fancy with this one. Energy damage to an enemy unit that is within a friendly Contagion aura or has their armor reduced. As a reminder, the Contagion aura is the Death Guard faction trait that provides an armor debuff. The secondary ability is Plagueburst Mortar. This targets a hex on the battlefield. All enemies on that hex or adjacent hexes that meet the same armor reduction requirements previously mentioned take toxic damage and are suppressed. The ability then adds contamination to the target hex and those around it. Pretty straightforward abilities, but let's look at them in action. For the primary ability, the UI is slightly unintuitive. When you click on the ability, it isn't immediately obvious that there are no available targets on the battlefield. Once I move Malladus into position, Snotflogger gains the armor debuff from Contagions of Nurgle. Now the primary ability does some damage. I know Snotflogger is one of the highest health units in the game, but the damage isn't very impressive, and I'll come back to that later. For the secondary ability, same thing really, but this is a mortar attack that has an area of effect attack. On the first turn, only Snotflogger has his armor reduced due to the Contagions of Nurgle aura, so when the crawler fires, only Snot takes damage. On the next turn, all 3 orcs have their armor reduced, so the crawler does damage to all of them with its secondary. This Machine of War likes units that can reduce armor. Here's the list that I came up with for potential friends who like to play alongside the Death Guard Machine of War. The Contamination Hex effect applied through the secondary also applies to your own units, so you might want to avoid bringing biological units. It's going to be a pretty narrow Machine of War, with the damage numbers from both the active and passive abilities fairly unimpressive. I've taken a stab at crunching those at level 50 versus an average D3 character, and you can see that it isn't the most exciting. Of the two, I think the mortar effect on the secondary, reducing armor in an area of effect while also applying suppression to a key target, will be the more useful of this Machine of War's 2 skills. Before we move on to the new Incursion stuff, here are the progression numbers for the new Machine of War. The Snowprint team have also made a few changes to Incursion to make the mode feel less repetitive and slightly more exciting. Let's walk through them. Firstly, the progression straight away looks different. You still have to start at Mission 1, but now have these unique enhancements that you can pick up along the way. These can confer a variety of benefits to your squad to aid progression. You'll also note that you no longer need to complete every single mission to progress. After completing Mission 1, for example, I can pick up the 2 enhancements on the right side of the path and then move on to Mission 4, saving time at the expense of some mission rewards. Secondly, you don't actually have to play any levels that you don't want to play. If you have a really big and developed roster, you could theoretically skip right ahead and play the final legendary tier straight away if you wanted. The trade-off is around rewards, so let's analyze that with the caveat that things are always subject to change. We know that you get fewer Incursion tickets over the event now as an attempt to reduce player fatigue, going from 9 tickets to 7 over the event. Snowprint have compensated by playing with the rewards a little bit. If you play the Incursions like the original setup, starting at Tier 1 and beating each tier in order, this is what the new format looks like. We are comparing full completions on both sides. You're up some shards and salvage overall, but lose a bit elsewhere. The epic rewards are lower because you go from completing 2 epic tiers to just 1. However, we don't have to play in order. You can just skip ahead to find the best rarity for yourself. I appreciate that not everyone is going to do this, however, let's just try skipping ahead to the final legendary rarity and compare that to the old 9 token first run for a Machine of War. On screen, this compares a full completion of the old 9 token system versus full completion of Tier 12 in the new system plus raiding Tier 12 a further 6 times. You end up netting way more badges, 30 legendary badges. You also get more shards and components but lose out on munitions. What about if we compared completing the old tier 14 9 times versus the new tier 12 7 times? You're down components and shards, but up significantly on legendary badges. Note that this assumes that you finish all of the battles in level 12, which can take multiple tokens due to the branching paths. I personally like the trade-off. These changes provide me with the two most valuable resources in the game, badges and time. There is a cost in the components and shards, but overall I think these changes are a net positive. Okay, short and sweet, not everything needs to be a longer video. Hope you enjoyed, and bye for now.